good.
Hello, and welcome to this special call about screens and children. I'm excited to have our special guest here, Tash Dowling from Digitox. Welcome, Tash.
Thanks for having me, Avalon. It's so good to chat with you again. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and this is such a rich topic, and it's just getting richer. There's just a lot going on in the digital world. So I'm really thrilled to have you on here today. So first, we're going to hear a little bit about Tash and what has brought her into this work, this really important work that she does with families to help restore connection and balance in a world where we are navigating a lot of screens. And Tash is going to share some tips and strategies to find more balance with screens. And there will also be a chance for Q&A so that we can, you can go deeper into what you're really wanting to hear or know. And yeah, I trust that this is going to be a rich, insightful, much needed conversation because, as a parent in these times, technology is here with us. And I'm kind of like I've been a mum for long enough to have been like a sort of like pre-digital mum as well, to a certain degree, just because we were out in the woods and not really having that part of our life. So I've seen it creep into our lives and then really like flood in a big way, like since we moved into a place where we have high-speed internet and the kids are older. So first, Tash, I'd love to hear a bit about your background, because I know you had an experience with your own son, which has brought you to this. So can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, Avalon. Well, for me, going through the experience with my son was back in 2016. So it was a fair while ago now. And then that was the generation that I think was being experimented on, or that's when we first saw phones put in the pocket and the access to laptops, and every kid had one. And we really didn't know anything about it. We didn't know the detrimental effects that it can have on kids' mental health, and many other areas as well. But we just didn't know what was going on then. It was kind of like it came in quite strongly then as well, if you were living in a city with the high speed internet and all that sort of stuff, which is what we were. So I went through this, felt quite alone going through it when I first realized something is going on here, where I felt what I hear a lot of parents talk about, what they feel now as well, which is that something has taken their child, that they don't have this connection, that something is stronger connecting with their child than them, or than friends, or from a normal offline normal childhood development, which is what they need. They're missing out on all of that. The screen is really, really taking over. So I went through this with my son, and I couldn't get the screen off him. He became addicted to gaming, as well as Netflix, social media, all of it. There was nothing around then. Now there is, which is great. So I work on one part of where I work is with gaming addiction, specifically through Intenta, which is clinical gaming disorder. So there is something, there are solutions coming, which I recommend all sorts of therapists get that training, which is really good to see what's going on with that child, specifically with their gaming. But what I was discovering was, why is my child acting defiant, rude, vacant, not interested in anything, unhappy? And then I hear the same thing from other parents, the same symptoms. And it's like, what's going on? And from my background in acupuncture, I always look at the nervous system. Like, why are they acting in a way where their nervous system is dysregulated, basically? And so with a lot of research and finding out, I came from it from more a scientific point of view. I know there's ways to look at it with what content is affecting them and all of that, but I look at more what the actual screens are doing to the nervous system. So kind of put it all under one umbrella, which is your iPhones, laptops, iPads. What keeps us engaged, other than the way that they've marketed the content to be, because they hire neuroscientists to keep the game more engaging, or social media more engaging. So this is very purposefully done, and it has hooked all of us from time to time, but our children. And our children are growing, they're developing, and they need these. It's crucial that they have these normal childhood development, um, activities and experiences in their life. One, for example, would be when they have a feeling come up that's hard. You're growing up, you have a feeling of maybe rejection, or you might have bullying, for example. And so you pick up your phone and distract. So you don't deepen and get those feelings, be able to go through those feelings. You're just blanketing it. So there's many, many different ways that screen is affecting our kids. I became very passionate about it once I finally, after a lot of mistakes and finding out what to do with my own son, I finally found like a step-by-step way to do it. So I tried it on him, failed many times. Poor Jack was my experiment, but we finally got there, and it was amazing to see the changes in my son so quickly, from a very addicted child that wasn't going to school anymore. It was devastating for us, really, really devastating, to healing. And that's without medication. And I couldn't get therapy for him because all the therapists thought that I was nuts because, for better word, because I was saying that there was something wrong with the screen. So that was back then. Now we have more support. People are getting more involved, and we're starting to see the data come out of how it actually is affecting mental health with kids specifically. So yeah, that's a bit of my story.
Can you mention, because I remember when you were sharing about your story another time, your son had physical symptoms.
Yeah,
the eye, like, talk about that. That's kind of freaky, right?
That was one of the main points that I went, something is neurologically not okay. And it's tics or Tourette's. So his eyes would roll involuntary. So that's when your nervous system is stimulated so much that you get involuntary actions. So yeah, he was having that. That was gone after the first week. Wow. And that's a really hard symptom to get rid of. You usually do need medication and things like that for tics and Tourette's. So his nervous system, and now with other kids that I see when we're doing this, their nervous systems come back to a place of health. And that's just from doing a few things that we need to do. And so many of the problems go away. Like, the painful things that I experienced was the disconnection between me and my child, the constant daily argument around the internet. It's like, oh my gosh, as if us parents don't have enough to do. We're exhausted anyway, we're having to do so much, and then you've got a daily argument around screen time, even when you've set boundaries. So that's exhausting, and seeing that stress go away is brilliant, because people come back, they're connected, they're connected again, and kids aren't asking for it all the time anymore, and they're going to school, they're becoming creative, and they're engaging as they naturally do as children. So it really does stunt their ability to grow and develop as children.
Can you share what you would say are some of the indicators that screen use has become, it's sort of tipped into being more of a problem than a benefit?
Yeah, exactly. So there is healthy screen time, and we know how technology can be so helpful. Like, look what we're doing here on Zoom, for example. So what some signs that you'll see, straight away, which you're probably more than familiar with, it's the first thing they ask for. It's the thing that they constantly ask for. It's the thing that, they can say things when it's becoming problematic. They can say things like, this is the thing that makes me the happiest. This is the thing I like the most. And we can get tricked as parents going, oh, well, maybe my kid's going to be a gaming developer, or they might be a Instagram person, or whatever it is.
Influencer.
Influencer, that was it. So we can get tricked into that, because we want our kids to be happy. We want to support them with what they want to grow with naturally. But it's a trick with the screens. And
it will, just on that point, like, especially with we've come, a lot of us have come from a very authoritarian controlled background, right?
Yeah.
And the culture is that, and there's a lot of progression and evolution in the role of families and motherhood, and there's a lot of different choices. And in my family, freedom is a really big value for us. And supporting our children's journeys and responding to them, and having that kind of more unschooling, world schooling philosophy of trusting the child to become who they're meant to be, right? It's ultimately, and so that means that when a child shows interest in something, there's a growth edge there. There's something that's drawing them in, and it can get really blurry around technology because, yeah, it's like totally valid that they might want to explore something and learn something and play something. But the nature of the technology itself is deliberately addictive and hypnotic to the point where the child who's not really mature enough, and even adults, like we know it ourselves, right? It can be so engaging that it can be so attractive to be like, oh, I want to go in there. There's, we know a lot of us probably know, like probably a lot of you have done a bit of research as well, and familiar that you get the dopamine hits from the technology and from the bells and the whistles. And I observed the other day, because this is really a factor in our family dynamic at the moment. We've got a blended family.
Yeah.
So we've got two households, and there's very different kind of boundaries in each home. And so the two children that are sort of here part-time, and they have a lot of unrestricted screen time in their other home. And I observed this look that I saw in one of the children the other day. She was on a screen and she was just like in this total bliss state, but it was actually like a really almost creepy state of like empty euphoria, like a junkie, so ecstatic that it was weird looking, like. And I just sort of noticed that, and I'm like, no wonder there is so much of a drive to want to be on that and beyond that and beyond that, if that's the result of this like unnatural ecstatic kind of experience. And yeah, I just wanted to say that that's something that I literally observed like a couple of days ago, before having this, and I'm like, wow, it's so big. Like these things have a big impact.
They really do. There's just like being vacant, being addicted, being not embodied. So it takes away kids needing to know who they are through those developmental years. They need to go through the different feelings of actually being here.
It's such a crucial time, because they're forming their sense of self, their identity, and they don't have the perspective of any life experience to compare it to, right? It's just, that's just life. That's what it is. And for some of them, they're spending more time in the digital world than in the physical world, in the sun, on the earth.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And they need to play. Like kids need to play, and that's how they learn, but not playing on games, playing with all their senses involved, even reading a book. They need to hold the book, touch the pages, that goes for us as well, not like the Kindle. So all our senses are involved. So we're desensitizing a lot by staying on a screen too much. Yeah, it's pretty hard seeing kids like that are vacant, and you do see that there's like a vacant look, and they're not happy. Like they're happy when they're on it, but when they get off, they're often even also thinking about the game or the social media the next time they can be on it, or what they've been doing on it on the times that they're not on social media or gaming as well. So it takes up a lot of their space and time, where they really need to be doing other things, having conversations, experiencing different activities, so that they can develop.
Moving their bodies. And I just want to mention also acknowledging that it can be really tricky as a mom or in a family when you don't have support. A lot of us, like, especially if you're a single mom or there's not someone else around, or even if there is and both parents are busy, for me, I have resorted to using screens as a way for my child to be occupied so I can be doing something as well. And I also see that as, it's kind of like a compromise that I'm willing to make sometimes, because I don't have the village, I don't have extended family, I don't have aunties, I don't have grandma around. so yeah, it's just like finding that balance. It's not to say, oh, don't use it ever. It's just like,
Yeah.
make sure that there's also other things, and that's what this is about. It's about finding the balance and not like going into, oh my God, I'm so guilty because of all this shit. It's
That's
like
good. Yeah.
actually having this real conversation and being honest with ourselves and not just being in denial of the impact that can happen.
Absolutely. Look, the electronic babysitter, I think we've all been guilty of that one because it works so well. It's like sometimes I'll walk into houses and I know that they've got teenagers there. I'm like, this is a very quiet house for a teenage house or a kid's house. And they're usually all on screen. So that's where we need the education as parents to know that, yeah, there are guidelines on how much screen time is good for children certain ages. But I believe as well, taking into consideration your own child, knowing how much your child, and that's part of what I do with families, is working out what works with that child specifically, how to look out for the signs that they're dysregulating, because every child's different. Some people can look at it for 2 hours, some people 20 minutes, and they're dysregulated. But one other thing about the electronic babysitter is when kids are always asking for the screen, we've got a problem. And it's not that hard to fix, actually. It's like you can fix it so that it's not the primary thing that they always want, and it's the central thing in your household of needs and wants and rewards and all that sort of stuff. So what we can get to is that, and what we do get to is when we need our time, which we do as parents, we need to get work done, blah, 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 all
Our
the rest
time,
of it.
yeah.
And we can't have them at us the whole time. So what happens with activities with kids, well, once they've gone through the program or even partway through, they actually start to entertain themselves with the normal activities that are actually feeding them. And we don't think they will, because they're actually not interested so much in drawing anymore, or dressing up, depending on what age they are, or playing the guitar or piano or whatever they're doing that they liked to do, but they do. So we don't have to use the screen anymore as, I've got to get stuff done, you be on that, I'll be on this. There are other options that we can do without having them at us the whole time. Yeah. And they're better off doing those activities because they really need to
Yeah,
do
for sure.
be involved in their creative self, not to create more guilt, because there's a hell of a lot of guilt around that one anyway, but just to know that there are alternatives and they do stop asking for it. Yeah. And then once you've got the right amount of screen time for your child, specifically your unique child, then and you've got agreements together, and depending on their age, they know when to go on it and when not to go on it, or oh, this is how much affects my child. So because sometimes we'll be like, okay, I need to do some work, you go on that. Work ends up being 2 hours and not 1 hour very easily all the time, and then we've got to deal with after work a dysregulated child. It's like, this is exhausting. I don't really want to have to do that every day. So yeah, there are other ways that once we get them to a stage where they're aware of it, and also where they're not asking for it all the time, then it's just gone away, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, and obviously it'd be highly beneficial for families to work with you directly so they can get that support. I'm curious if you can share any tips that can help families get started to find that balance.
For sure. Well, again, there's so many different situations. Like some people are asking, oh, what's a good age to give my child a phone? And so there's a big process for that, um, there's a process that's involved with that, about, firstly being educated yourself on what you're actually handing your child, that you need to have certain controls over it. You do need very strong boundaries when you're going to give your child technology. It's not something that they can just have freedom with, unfortunately. That's my opinion, and that's what I see. So I help parents with developing boundaries as well. Again, I'm more about authoritative, not authoritarian, and the difference being that we're working together, that we're keeping that strong container. There was even a study done that I really like, and it was I don't remember where it was, but anyway, it was a study done where a whole bunch of kids are playing in a playground and there's no fence around, and they all stay together. They don't go and explore. And then they did an experiment where they put the kids in the playground with a fence around, and they're like, woohoo! They go and explore to the edges of of the whole playground. It's because they feel safe when they have a container and
Mm.
we're their container. So yeah, I've had to learn boundaries. That I fell into this problem because I didn't have boundaries with my son. I was like, yeah, I want you to have what you want, do what you want. Got me in a lot of trouble because it was out of control. So
Mm.
it's working with kids as well. So it's a family event, really.
Yeah, that's so
So other
important.
tips, I'm not sure. It'd have to be, there's the basics, okay? And this is they're the basic things that I recommend, which is, um, don't make technology the first thing everyone does when they wake up in the morning. Have breakfast together first. Get around the table. And the other thing I really like is, even if it's a really crap time, if you're all not having a good time, stay. Yeah, stay at the table. And the dinner table and the breakfast table are times where we don't talk about negative things about, oh, you didn't put the trash out, or jobs and chores, and that's where we need to turn our busy organizing parent brain off and go, let's just have a messy old breakfast and dinner and talk about anything. Just have fun connection time. Because there's other times where we go and talk and make agreements about technology. And yeah, so dinner time, breakfast time can be a time where it's safe to be you, for kids, for us, for everyone. Let's just be ourselves. Technology out of the bedrooms, definitely. And also turn off the Wi-Fi and everything off at, like, I don't know, 7-8 o'clock at night. Minimum 2 hours before sleeping, so that you get the melatonin coming through, which we need melatonin to sleep and also to clean up all of it's an antioxidant. So that's where, kids do suffer physically from internet addiction as well, not just the tics, Tourette's, but sore joints, gaining weight, sweet cravings, their diet goes, hygiene can go sometimes, they won't have a shower. Yeah, it can get really bad. So if you can do that and not have a trouble, you're pretty much in a happy place.
So in my case, we've got 5 children in a very small house, right?
Yeah.
So they actually do have their desks in their rooms, and they've got their computers in their rooms.
Yep.
My daughter, my 19-year-old, is an actual digital animator. She's spending a lot of time on there, but that's actually becoming her career, right?
That's awesome.
I see that she's sort of.
Myself.
What was that?
I'd love to do that myself.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's making a short film at the moment. So I actually feel really relaxed about her. She's got amazing self-organization around her boundaries and around making sure she's getting, a balance of her own. She's sort of now coming out the other side, taking charge of her own rhythms around screen use, which is amazing.
That's really good.
Really healthy. She's disciplined. She has her times on and off. Good. So that's great to see that coming out the other side. So with the others, they've got their desks in their rooms, and that's where they've got laptops where they do their thing, so they're in and out of there. So do you have any recommendations around that? Like, I make sure that it's shut at night, so it's not just like a screen sitting there waiting to be stepped into.
Well, I don't think laptops on laps are good at all.
No, they're on desks.
Excellent, that's good. So as long as they the ideal situation is having a central, depending on the ages of the kids as well, but having a central place in the house. It's like a workstation, feel like a co-op working station within the house. Doesn't have to be a big thing, just a long kind of, with stools or something like that. If you can get it all in a central area for everybody, that's great. But if you don't have the room or space, how old are the kids, Evelyn?
The littlest is 10. So they're 10, 13, 16, 16 and 19.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. So definitely for the younger ones, it's tricky when they've got older siblings that have got more time allowance and things like that. But for the younger ones, I'd definitely be not having free reign on the internet.
No.
Or even the 13s, the 10 and the 13, you could have different sort of ideas around. But keeping the doors open, having an agreement together about what is allowed to be looked at and not, and that you do check from time to time, which kind of sucks having to do that. But with porn addiction, which is a massive issue for young people and all people, but very traumatizing for young people, the percentage of of kids on porn is like 90 something. So when we think, oh, my son's not on there or my daughter's not on there, they probably are. And we need to educate them around so much if we're going to give them access to the internet. You can use things like, parental stoppers on some websites to protect them as well, because there's a few issues around safety for kids online.
Yeah.
Not sure if you're up on that stuff, but
Well,
that's
we put in parental blocks, and then it blocked so much stuff. Like
right.
they couldn't even go on YouTube, and it became like we were like, oh, that's just, it created actually more friction and more difficulty because they couldn't do the things. Because even just Zenon likes to make Lego things and follow instructions on YouTube. So I see that as like it's kind of like using technology well by following instructions and doing something with his hands. Definitely. So that's a real edgy one around the restrictions, because I think it's so important to, I mean, it's so dodgy that for them to have access to everything on the internet because there's so much shit out there.
Yeah.
But then also finding a way of having it controlled in a way that they still can access what they want. That's our challenge.
That's right. And I think that comes through keeping the discussion going, constantly communication about this, about the uncomfortable stuff. Who's seen porn? What do you think of it? Bringing up these topics won't put it in their mind so much. There are some pretty scary things that happen when they've got just full range of access to the internet, and time limits as well. You don't want them on there more than 2 hours a day for the younger ones, the 10 and 13-year-old. But also I think, like, and I'm sure you'd be like this anyway, but just working with them, like authoritative, telling them why and what they think about it and what they'd like, and then coming up to an agreement. If you're struggling with things about it, have that agreement written up together. Start with complete wish list of theirs, complete wish list of yours, sit down, cross off a couple each of each other's lists, come to something, go in with your non-negotiables, things that you can't allow, like definitely no internet through the night. So maybe even if they're going to have it in their rooms through the day, then at nighttime it might be a bit annoying, but you might go, okay, all technology in the basket in somewhere, a lounge room or under mum and dad's bed, because it is tempting, and they do get up in the night because somebody has told them from another country, get up in the middle of the night, and that's when we can get into testy waters.
It's been such a wild ride in the blended family with the different sort of things going on, and I won't even go into it because I've had a discussion around this, and there's like privacy issues around what I can talk about and what I don't talk about. So I'm not going to be talking about everything openly, but it's tricky when there's different boundaries around stuff, for sure. And so my son is on a trial at the moment with Roblox, like, because he uses Roblox, and he's just trialing an upgrade where he gets more features. So he's on his first month. So we're like, making sure that there's the balance. So I think having open communication is really important. Is there anything else that you think parents need to be aware of? And then we can move into some Q&A with the others who are here on the call.
You can be looking out for signs and symptoms. So say with your son on 1 month trial of the game, but sometimes the symptoms stay in the nervous system and explode out, even up to years later. So I feel like I'm a showstopper for everything here right now. But I think keeping a strong connection, communication, and strong agreements, and don't ever back down on what you've agreed with. Because I hear so often kids come in and go, can I have the screen? And mum's like, no. And they're like, oh, but blah blah's on. And she's like, oh, what is that? It's like, and she just got ground down. It's like, we've already discussed this, it's written up. If they need a reminder, it's to go and look on the fridge at the thing that you both did together, so you're not the enemy all the time.
Having clear agreements, so important. I think having it written down is really powerful. Can you hear me? You just dropped out for a second.
We're back.
So that said, I've got a candle here that I'd like to light to invite us to really just land and ground in our mama power. or for the dads as well, just for anyone who's caring for children, to just come into a place of trust and knowing that we can find a pathway forward that includes connection and healthy balance. So I'm going to invite you to just take a moment to breathe. I'll light this candle, connecting with your heart. And just taking a moment to acknowledge how you're feeling as we explore this topic, because it's such a big one. And just imagining that you are like a beautiful tree with roots in the earth, and allowing your roots to grow down into the earth so that you can feel strong and supported. And feeling the love in your heart for your children, for your child or little ones around you. And just trusting that we are so supported, and the power of love is more powerful than anything else. And acknowledging your willingness to be in this conversation and to learn and to be supportive in this world with your child, you know, as your child is navigating all these things, because it's their experience too. And allowing yourself to be gentle with yourself and be gentle with your child, and remember that you are on the same team. So just taking a breath and really landing and feeling that peace within yourself, and that power for yourself to be grounded as the authoritative parent, the one who works with your child with clear boundaries and clear agreements that sets you up and them up for, you know, life, for a life of respect and connection and moving forward, especially with all the different unknowns that we're stepping into, with new things coming all the time, whether it's screens or something else, to anchor into that connection first and trust that there's a way. And feeling so grateful for you, Tash, and the work you're doing and the support that's available now for parents, and knowing that you don't need to do it on your own.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely. Connection number one, I think. Connection, you know, when people say, oh, should my child have a phone? Should I let them on the game? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, how's your connection with them? Is it really solid? And where are you making this decision from? From your guilt that all the other kids are doing it? From your fear of being, I'm going to stay, you know, true to my child and my truth on this? Yeah, they were the points that came up when you were doing that meditation. And also our self-care, like thinking about, we give so much as mamas. We give so much. We want the best for our children. We need to also think, how is this serving me? Like, how is this serving me? You know, giving my child something that isn't serving them just because they want it, when it's going to grind me down all the time.
Yeah.
And make me tired. And it does wear parents out. It wears out relationships. It does a lot of damage. So yeah, it's nice to stay connected. They're our children. We want to connect with them.
And every child's different, but my child, and I know a lot of them, are master salespeople.
Oh yeah.
Like, they are amazing. Like, my boy, he will find every little like possibility, and the next minute, like, I'm really quite strong. I've got clear boundaries, but I even find with my son, I'm suddenly in this conversation where I never thought I'd end up. So just,
very true.
It's so important to stay anchored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So could we open up into a little bit of Q&A or discussion with anyone who's live on the call?
Sure.
Would you be open to that? So if you're on the call, This is being recorded, so if you want to hop in and ask something, if that's okay with you, you're welcome to. Do you have any questions, something to ask? And I can bring you forward.
If there are any questions, otherwise they can make contact after from the recording if there are any questions. Questions do come up from time to time.
Yeah, sure. I think we've got someone to lead her.
Hi guys, thank you so much Tash and Avalon for holding this space and for just speaking into this, because you're totally right. I feel like this is such a big one for all families, you know, and as mamas, and just in this time where technology is really seeping in and it can be so easy to just, you know, give it to them. Within my family, so I've got a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. They like to watch TV and my son likes to play PlayStation, he likes to play games. I feel like we do have a good balance of we do have a good balance of them being on this and, you know, being outside and doing other things and playing together a lot, and connection time because we homeschool, so we're together a lot, and, you know, we go out and do a lot of activities. They've got a lot to do, but yeah, it's a hard one trying to, I think for me, like you said, is the boundaries and getting very clear on what feels good for me and what feels good for them, and that like co-creation of that time, like writing it down, I think will be really powerful and helpful for us. But as you were saying, when they signs to look out for, you know, if they're asking for it. And so my son, he's started to play on the phone, like games on the phone, and I can see he's getting like obviously very addicted to it. And I guess it's like you were saying, as they go through this process, they stop asking for it. And I feel like, yeah, would it be just the connection, replacing that when you're placing those boundaries, when you're wanting to kind of wean away from it more? Is it just around connection? And yeah, I don't know, holding them in that emotion of maybe the stuff that they're suppressing, or that addictive or habit that's been formed.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal, for sure. It can be a bit of a roller coaster when you're dealing with them releasing feelings of addiction. We ask ourselves what caused it, and how important is that for them to have in their life right now. How old are they? 6 and 4?
6 and 4, yeah.
So yeah, I've noticed with the younger kids, when they go through the program, there's no more emotional dysregulation, sleep time increases, there's no more asking for it, it's over. So the questions you ask,
when technology is removed, or when, is that what you're saying? So
that's part of, it is part of the program, yeah, because it dysregulates the nervous system. I'm not anti-tech at all, but the questions I like to ask is, how is this serving you? Tell me, like, how, you can tell me now if you like or not, but how is this, what is this benefiting, how is this benefiting your child?
My child or myself?
Well, 2 questions, yeah, like they're the questions to ask yourself.
I guess for me sometimes it is the time, or you know, having a break, and then for them I guess it's just some relaxation time or downtime. They like to watch a movie, or they like to play a game. I guess that's how it's helping them, but I know there's the other flip side of it where it can become so addictive, and then just trying to find that balance with that. So but on the other hand, I do want to, I just want to create more boundaries around it. I feel like writing something up so that we're very clear, because it is so loose. And then obviously that brings up feelings of, shit, you know, technology and all the shit that's on technology. So it's like that guilt and how you find that balance with that. So the first sort of step is
when you give them technology, you need to know exactly what you're giving them. You need to know, there's a great YouTube movie called Childhood 2.0.
Okay.
I highly recommend watching that. So it's good to watch that so you know what you're handing your child to your child.
So being aware of what it is, really.
And then, you know, with the time, like your time, which we all do, the electronic babysitter, we need that, right? what I notice as well with kids, especially the young ones, is they don't ask for it anymore. You're off doing your thing. They're busy playing. They play together better. They're drawing, they're playing, they're doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't want to sway you to, don't give it to them. It's totally your choice. But yeah, you could start them by doing the agreement. That when they're that age, you kind of make the agreement yourself and let them have choice. But when the younger they are, the more you're driving that ship. So you definitely know the times that they don't do it, that they only do it a very little bit when they're that young. Very little bit. And then just asking yourself, maybe I could experiment with giving them else, but if they're bored with drawing and playing dress ups and all that stuff at that age, then there's a problem. And that's when you need to go through a bit of a sequence of things that restores them back quite quickly. And that way you don't have it anymore. And it lasts forever. Like, it doesn't.
So moving completely, you think, allows them
you don't have to forever.
Yeah.
Not forever, but for a period of time. Yeah. Because you've got to restore the nervous system. So when they want it, soon it becomes, you escalate to, I'm bored, nothing else is good.
Yes.
This is boring, that's boring, everything's boring. You can see those kids when you walk into a party and they're just sitting on the couch waiting to go home. It's boring. They're the screen kids usually, because they just want the screen. And mum goes, oh, do you want the screen? Yep. And they go do that. So they're missing out on all this interaction time. So that's what we can be a little bit concerned about with going forward, because this is the strongest stimulation. It's stronger. Don't take it personally. It's stronger than anything mama can give. It's stronger than what nature can give. It's stronger than drawing, writing, reading, and all that goes away. And it's just physiologically stronger to the nervous system through the eyes. Yeah. It's overstimulating and it dysregulates them. So they're releasing adrenaline constantly because it's so exciting. Adrenaline. When you have so much adrenaline going through you, especially when you're not running and clearing it out, you're creating a buildup of cortisol, which is an inflammatory, problematic, debilitating thing. So I'm sorry, I'm scaring you a little bit into the future.
No.
That's what's going to happen. Well, no, hopefully not, but it's a very predictable path, especially when they've had it younger, right? So, and they are having it younger. So, try with your agreement, stick to it. And you got to stick to it too. This is the thing. It's like, oh, damn, I said that. But I said that. So pop it on the fridge, stick to it. Yeah.
That was like me on that point last night. I said to Zenny, all right, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. So then we can do something else. I just wanted to let you know I'll be back in a minute. And it was like 15 minutes because I suddenly did all these other things and come out. I said, oh, that was a bit longer than what I said. So I need to catch myself and be in integrity.
Yes. It's a lot more work when you've got screens. It's another parenting program in itself, having screens in your home,
And there's like billion-dollar industries invested in engaging that attention, because the attention is the commodity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they kind of take them. So yeah, I hope that helps you.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for that reminder. Beautiful. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Talita. And so for others who are interested to learn more, what's the best way to contact you, Tash?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is digitox.com.au, or we're starting a group program because the school holidays are coming up, and that's a great time for going through the program. So that's that closes on the 20th of September. And what I like to do is I offer people, I like to sort of have a call with people before they come into the program. So I get you to fill out a form so I can find out more about you and what, for people that are really struggling, what situation they're in. And then if I know I can help them, then I invite them onto a call where we talk about it and then into the program. So there's a program coming up. Otherwise, on my website, there's also how to end the internet argument free half-hour video that sort of supports parents on how to get through that daily internet argument as well, because that seems to be quite a strong problem that people are facing.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically through my website, I can leave a link here to the call if there's people that are needing that kind of support.
Yeah. So your website, Digitox, digitox.com.au.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll put that link with the video where I share it, and you can have this video to share where you need to, and have the link with it where you share it too.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Happy to chat. I hope that that's helped.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really helpful. And I think it's really important to have this conversation, just to step back a little bit and get that big picture perspective, because when we're in it, it can feel quite stressful. It can be overwhelming. The children are so committed to what they want. And so we need to be equally as committed to holding that space and knowing that it is actually our responsibility to support them to have the balance, because they just don't have that same perspective to be able to make those choices. And as we've said, the technology itself is so engaging that it's going to be drawing their attention in quite powerfully.
Yeah, they really do need us through this time with technology. They really, really do. And that's, you know, for us first, to be educated on what is actually going on with tech, just the basics of what it actually is. And then, you know, supporting them through it. But getting rid of that daily stress out of families' lives from this is why I love doing this. It's like, oh wow, this is cool, without medication and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's so great. It's really
doable,
powerful,
guys. There are things that can help in many ways depending on where people are at.
That's great. It's so good to know. Thank you so much, Tash. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom. And yeah, trust that if you're feeling drawn to receiving some support around this, get in touch with Tash. We're going to do Digitox with you this time round.
Great.
Sure. Yeah. And I'd love to get both families on board. That would be my ideal.
Well, that's often the way where we have split families where one parent is like no, one parent is yes.
Yeah.
I have my way.
Okay. I reckon we could probably work together
on this. Yeah, there's a way to deal with that. It's quite common.
Yeah. Awesome.
So good to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Tash. It's been great. I look forward to connecting with you and with the other families who are up for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.